So what are you doing? You're gonna send it to me? Are you gonna do the proof of funds or?
Don't you have it, or can you do it, or no?
I think I might have an old one, I don't know. I don't have that file thing that you just changed, but
Okay.
she wants a proof of funds too, even though
Yeah,
she's like.
no, the proof of funds is important. That's actually kind of the most important.
I mean, you want me to just take a screenshot of your bank account
No.
and get out the numbers?
Well,
I can do
do the
that.
numbers big enough to
How big do you want the number?
a lot more than what we're paying her, obviously, or not a lot more, but some more. What's up, Van? Hey man, can you hear me? Hey man,
Hey,
how's things going? Not much, man. I think I have some good news. We're
193.
Water comes through the foundation on the
yes, yeah, that'd be fine.
That's good.
Yeah, send her that and then just show her.
I'll just try to make this bigger.
Yeah, make it bigger and just pull it off so you can see the time, like some kind of timestamp. That's important. We're just so we're working on a PPC lead. We've been running ours about a couple weeks before yours, and essentially we've gotten some leads. It took a little bit. The first few weeks was really slow, and we weren't getting like anything. And then, like that's been how it's been going for everyone recently. And then it started getting a few leads, and we just got like a couple bonehead leads that were like, "What are these?" And then we finally got someone who's like, "Yeah, I'm just looking to get like 120 or 140," and we're like comping this thing, and I'm like, 120 to 140, it's worth like 400K. And like, what is going on? And like, so we're going to offer like 156. It's a $120,000 renovation in Fed Hill in the harbor, but it's like a 400K. So it's like with my commissions and everything, it's like showing like a $75,000 profit. And I'm pretty sure she's going to say yes. I just got off the phone with her and told her I'd send her over proof of funds and everything. And she's like, yeah, this should work. And so we'll see. Hopefully we'll get it. But I feel like we're in the game. I told her I need a quick answer, and she was kind of agreeable to do that if it was a good offer. So I don't know, man. It's weird how this works. The PPC is very much like that. It's kind of like, bad lead, bad lead, bad lead. Then what?
Yeah. It's great. That's awesome.
Sorry.
So can I just send this to her as it is?
Yeah, you can. I guess so. Sure.
It shows like.
Showing the balance.
Your balance. is
Where's the
coming
balance at?
254.
Okay.
193. I mean, it shows your.
I think you need better than that. So you need an actual real proof of funds, like so a bank account or screenshots, what she was asking for.
This is a screenshot of your bank account.
Let me do the other thing. So I'm going to show you something that I use, Alex. So I don't know if you're using something like this. Let me just show you. I'll do it for you and send it to you, Tanya, because this is actually pretty good for offers. I use this with the banks too, and it, believe it or not, works for the banks. So let's see. So proof of funds, what I have is a editable proof of funds. And this is pretty cool. It goes in text edit, or you can actually do what's called PDF filler. And PDF filler costs $180 a year, but it's pretty insanely cool. So I can take like your bank statement, you print it off. You can see it's from 6/19. Check this out. Now it's from 7, whatever today is. Hold on, what is today? 7/14.
Yeah. My wife found something similar that's exactly what we do. And that came from you initially. And I don't know what the program is. I have to ask her, but we just go in and create whichever one we want.
Yeah, it's kind of
You
cool
do it
to
on-
do that, because the reality is, like, I have the money to back this up, but most of my money is actually sitting in like 4 different accounts, and and then I got maybe some of it's like hard money, and it's just simpler to say, here's my one account, and like basically, Tanya, what LLC is available? Because we're going to write this in an LLC.
I'll have to make a new LLC.
So
The only LLC that's still pending is the 93 LLC.
and which one is that pending on?
It's that Hartford thing.
No, we're not worried about that then.
Okay.
So 93 is open.
Okay.
So I'll even change the LLC name, even though the same, because I want the name to match the, this is the stuff I think is really important, like the date being like 5-10 minutes before I send it to them, because it brings legitimacy. Like they're not going to complain about it. That's fine. Actually, I want to take that down a little bit, because I told her I only have enough money to buy like one more property. So I don't want to look like I got too much money. And she'll be like, hey, well, you're rich. You pay more.
I think you time, Mike, too, it's at 5:04 a.m. So
Man, that's important. See that? Little details. What were you saying?
And MP Green 92 LLC was apparently for Sipple, which was rejected.
92 is what we just did, so I have a feeling Sipple is being used on something else. 92 is being used on
Forest View was MP Green Management 92 LLC.
what?
Yeah.
MP Green 93 LLC is Hartford, if you want to try that one. But
93 is
if
fine.
that comes through, I don't know.
We're not coming through at this point
Okay.
because we don't care anymore. Okay. So let me save this and then I'm going to show you the last thing then. Hold on one second. Save. Export to PDF.
So that's what happened, basically. Yeah, I had a picture of it. So,
I think I got it right. Let's see.
but anyway, yeah, can you just replace the door, you think?
It's a little high for me. What's the address, Diane?
The 1322 Webster Street.
Sure. I don't know why it should have been, but anyway, yeah.
All right, let me just send that to her. And how about your, so this is basically the simple stuff. So she's been working on your PPC. You should, it's been taking a few weeks to get going, but you should start seeing some leads coming through
Great.
soon. So, that it definitely will happen. Kim in Oregon was like 3 weeks and she had nothing. And then she got one lead. She's like, it wasn't nothing important. Then she got like 2 last night. So it was kind of like, it's starting to pick up already.
You want the articles of the organization?
Baby, I'm on a call with everyone. So all I need is the proof of funds and I need the thing. That's it. Okay. Just a proof of funds and a contract to send to her.
Yeah, you're doing the contract. You
I
said.
know. Well, let me finish the call.
I meant you
What's up,
don't want
Paul?
to send her the form.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
I do not. So I got to find that. What the heck? Oh, there it is. I'm going to send that to her. Then, so basically I was just telling Alec about the fact that like we just got a lead and like what we're doing is we're jumping on the lead, right? I looked at it. The lead looks really good. And we've gotten some weird leads up till this lead, but this lead's pretty awesome.
What did you get it through?
PPC.
PPC. Got it.
What we get it through is kind of irrelevant. What I was teaching earlier before this call was like all marketing works, but it works like really in a way that's super hard to follow. And what it is, it's like the way marketing works is it basically is just crappy lead, good lead. And, you got to be like, all right, don't get too butthurt about the crappy ones because they are part of the game, right? And really a weeding process. So,
That's right.
like it's difficult to stay firm when you're doing some marketing and maybe you're getting 10 leads a month and maybe it takes 20 leads to get a deal. Maybe on a bad run, it takes 40 leads to get 2 deals, but now you're 4 months into it. And what's happened, and I've seen this in students and I've seen it myself recently, we tend to get into the marketing and if we don't get enough results from it quickly, we fire it. So I've noticed that I did that with PPC back in November. I, had one deal, I spent $8,600 and I was like, made 60 grand on the deal. So like, that was actually a pretty good return, but I was pissed that I only got one deal and it was $8,600 cost. 2 weeks after I fired it, I got a second deal, made 40 grand on that. And that was like a wholesale deal. So it wasn't even like I had to go work on it. So now I'm at like $96,000 in profit for 86 and my cost per deal is 4,300, which is reasonable for those returns. So the problem was I was 3.5 months into it and I had a run of like 3 weeks where I had all bad leads and it started making me think that it ain't working anymore. Right. And that's what happens. We think it ain't working anymore.
Right.
The thing with all marketing, man, is just that you got to constantly keep doing it. When I say marketing, it can be MLS, it can be letters, bandit signs, it can be PPC. A lot of times people, what I've noticed, anytime I say, hey, I got a deal from marketing, people, where'd you get it from? Oh man, I got to start doing that. The exact opposite of what I teach people, because that ADD where it's like FOMO, I call it, like everyone, oh, that guy just did this, we should try it. It's exactly why you never give your current marketing time to work. Right? Your current work, it never gets time to work because PPC, I might be getting this to work pretty quick. But with that being said, I had a little run of about, some phone calls that were all crappy. And we're like, and it took 3 weeks to even get a phone call, which was a little disappointing. That was like, that ain't as fast as I would like. The reality is if we do get the deal, great. If we don't, we're still good to go. No big deal.
That's it.
because I look at it like I won't look at this campaign until the first of next year to decide how well it's working. Because I know that by now to the first of next year, I'll get some deals. I've given myself time to not only pick up a deal here and there, but also to, you know, get some people I follow up with. So not every deal, like Alec had a deal. I think, remember you got one, Alec, where you went and like sat at the lady's steps and just knocked it out the park real quick. Not every deal is, when we talk about 1 in 20 to get a deal for like say mailers, not every one of the deals you get is going to come off the first phone call. You know, it's not going to come off of that. Sometimes, you know, like I would say about 30% of the deals you get come from like pretty quick, like, hey man, I got a deal, numbers make sense. You go work it out and you scoop it up before anyone else. Then the other 2 deals come from out of, you know, 3 out of, you know, say the other 70% of deals are going to come from follow-up. That can be anywhere from like 30 to 6 months, right? To 180 days. So the problem is, you might actually be getting deals from your marketing, but just haven't given it time to mature, right? Because everything's in a different, like people call you in different parts of a sales cycle. Now, we love when people call us at the end of the sales cycle, like, dude, I talked to 10 people. This guy had me under contract trying to wholesale. He never followed through. I want to just get this done. That's like, they're just knocking on the door, getting ready. They're like, let's make this happen. You go out, sign up. You're like, dude, I knew that John Martinez was training. It was so good. And you should see me. I'm a superstar. And then you go out to somebody that's in the beginning part of the sales cycle. And then you're like, everything I said didn't work. Couldn't get him to make a decision. Like, lady laughed at me. The one I made 40 grand on, she literally laughed at me and said, yeah, that'll be the day when I take 210. And I was like, okay, well, that's our offer. If anything changes, let me know. You know, certainly if, you know, if something changes, you want to take it. And literally, I checked in with her 3 months later, and she's like, some stuff changed. You said if anything changes, some stuff's changed. I'm okay to take your number. And I was like, cool.
Oh.
And the thing was, the market had went up quite a bit in that 3 months. So she didn't even negotiate me. I would have given her. That's why I got 40K on it, because the market had went up so much that I was like, holy crap, right? I mean, because I could have paid her more, but I didn't need to. But the follow-up was the key. So, and even to the point where if you haven't given yourself like at least 6 months on a campaign, you don't really know. And then the next piece of it is, how much of it are you causing by not following up? How much are you causing by you still working out your stuff? So if you're in there aggressively trying to pull everything out of your leads, you will get them to work. And this is true for the MLS. It's true for anything. So think of the MLS the same way. Like, there's deals. I just picked up a deal yesterday in Pasadena, and that deal is literally, like, legitimately, that deal is, oh man, I could actually sell the, if we get this one, I could sell the Pasadena one. That would be awesome. And I was saying, so this deal, it took us like 2.5 weeks to get it. They were overpriced, and it sat on the market for about a month. And I've been looking at it for 2.5 weeks, and you know, and I made them an offer finally for 10K less. For 20K less, and they came back 10K more, which is 10K less for them. And we worked it out, and it's under contract. It's a sweet little deal. I'm excited for. So, but it was right on the MLS. Nobody wanted it because it was 20K too high, and they were like, no, we're not going to talk to anyone. Maybe really for most people even higher. So it's all about the follow-up. It's about digging into deals, getting really, really grimy, and just fighting hard for every deal when you know there is a deal to be had. So I always look at every deal as like, when they say no to me, it's no for now. It's not no, right? I don't believe it's a full no until it's sold to someone else, right? Even they're like, no, we're under contract with someone else. Okay, that's not a full no, because let me call you. When you guys supposed to settle? Oh, okay, in a month? Great. Let me check in with you in 3 weeks. Because right now, believe it or not, we're hearing, and if Ray jumps on, he'll confirm this. In New Jersey, he is getting like more than half his deals from deals that go under contract and fall out. Because the fallout rate on a lot of houses right now, it's higher than ever. Because people, it's such a competitive market that people are kind of overbidding. You ever think that people pay too much for their deals? Well, cool. That's truer today than ever. People are paying too much for their deals. The only benefit of people paying, well, 2 benefits of them paying too much. Well, eventually they're out of business. So that's kind of a benefit for us, because, you know, they're probably going to be quitting and you want to compete with them in the future. The only issue with that is, like, for every flipper that falls out because they paid too much, Dan Merle or some you know, guru teaches them, and there's 5 more next month. So unfortunately, it's not going to, you know, that won't ever work itself out. But the reality of when someone pays too much, they often don't know it when they're doing it. But once they're under contract and they have time to think it over, they get somebody to look at it, they get an estimate, they then realize they've paid too much, and they fall out of contract quite often. So right now, because people are so overpaying, it means that whenever there's one thing that's happening that's a problem, it creates a new opportunity.
Hmm.
So think about that, right? The overpaying is actually creating higher fallout rates. An agent of mine who does a lot of like bank owns said the fallout rate right now on houses that are homeowner bids, like that's who beats you a lot of times when, you know, the house is in reasonably good shape. They're like the homeowner bids are falling out at 60% right now on houses in bad condition. So 60% of them are not going to settlement. They're like investors are higher than ever right now too, 30 some percent. And normally they run around like 15 or 20. So it's just saying fallout rate over across the board is insanely high right now. And Ray like confirms that because he gets most of his deals from that. So know that yes, people are paying too much, but then the opposite thing that can come up for us is like, let's talk to some people when they, you know, just check when they're going to settle, call a week before settlement and how's things going, right? Does everything look good with the deal? Or would you guys be open to a backup offer at this point? And if their deal is shaky at all, they're going to be like, yeah, give me a backup offer because I don't want to look. I want to look. If my deal does fall apart, I want to be like, hey, I got someone else who can jump right in. So that is how Ray's getting a lot of his deals. Alec, that's actually probably a pretty strong move for you. I use that anywhere. I use it anywhere where competition's crazy high. So it's going to work for you anywhere you're at. Christine, it would obviously work here because deals are falling out quite high, higher than ever right now. So know that as one problem comes up, another door opens. So anyhow, just some marketing stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Other than that, then what questions you guys have I can help you with?
Well, I just got one real quick, and I got I'm meeting the appraiser on that Imperial Beach one. I got to probably take up in 15 minutes. So just anything you can throw at me, like, you know, just, you know,
You're good enough.
just
You're a beast. You're a beast, Alec. You can do it, man. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just looking for like, you know.
You might need to take some cocaine with you or something. You just might need some drugs involved or some cash. You got to all the cash.
Well, let's listen to this part of it. We've already bumped the first appraiser out because they were like, you know, they looked at the comps that we sent and they were bitching and complaining. Oh yeah, we're not going to be able to bring in value. And we just approached the listing, the buyer's agent and said, listen, unless you want to commit to the overage, we need to change the appraisal. And they went for it and change out the guy.
Okay.
So dude, throw that in there.
Give them the comps that we had. We came up with those and just tell them about how hot the market is and how everything's selling for more and, you know, the huge increase in the values right now. Just anything you tell them, most of the time, they're not looking for a logical reason. They're just looking for any reason. They want something just to hang their hat on, because if they are going to logically break down the things you say and the case you're trying to make, it obviously won't hold up because you're way over the comps. You're way over.
Yeah.
But I've found that very few people want to fight about it, and most people are just kind of go with the flow, right? I mean, they're just like, whatever, you know, let's just make it work as long within reason. So that's what you're hoping, that by getting the first crazy person out, that hopefully your luck's going to be turned better, because it's hard for me to find a lot of bad appraisers in a row. But if I go through 10 appraisers, one will be a little crazy. I want to be a little picky. So that most things appraise for me. I mean, these days the appraisers they're not feeling a lot of pressure from the bank right now to underappraise things either, because the banks are like, no, the market's kind of skyrocketing up. So they're not, you know, when the market's going down, they'll get a lot of pressure from the bank to kind of be conservative and a lot of fight back on the comps. So knowing they're not getting a lot of fight back, they're probably not like gonna, most of them are, you know, the ones that are like all big on that are the ones that are on there, like have their principles. You ever met them who are like, dude, I've been doing this 30 years.
We don't want that one.
That's not the guys like, the principle is, and they want to be right. You know, they're trying to fight. We need the like laid back dude who's like, nah, dude, it's all good. No, that's kind of aggressive, but let me see what I can do. That's it. Do your best, man. Just do your best. Cool. And then whatever it is, it is. So, man, kicking them out was I'm glad you went and did that, because that sounds to me like, you know, look, you know, there might be something said to him now, like, hey, you know, last one was kicked out because he was fighting about this. So you never know.
Yeah.
And I would just tell him, here's the comps, man. Hey, you know, like, you know, right now, whatever, just kind of hit him with the comps, tell him what you're saying, build some rapport with them. We want them looking and fighting to get the comp up high because they don't want to disappoint a dude they like. Yeah. Right? If you can do that, my experience has been they'll just work it out most of the time. Or wherever you land, you'll know it was as good as it could be, kind of thing.
Right. You put your best foot forward, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't hit me like 375. You know, you hit me like a crazy low comp.
Nah, it won't. It won't be that. Yeah.
I got it. Well, that's it. So your job now is to get as much as you humanly can. That's really where it lands.
Cool. Yeah. So those ones that are you're saying they're falling out of escrow, more than likely it would have been maybe a kind of like a grandma's house that was not maybe a total rehab, but like, you know, it would work for a new couple that want to put some sweat equity into
Those
their
are
own
falling
kinda-
out. They're falling out at like a 60% rate, but however,
so-
the deals that are kind of perfect fits for us are falling out at a 30% rate. So that's still
Oh,
worth a
that's-
call.
Sure,
I mean,
sure,
you know,
yeah.
you're like 1 in 4,
Call 'em
1
all.
in 3. Yeah, call them all. As long as the deal made sense, the only thing you're looking for is they wanted a number you could have paid and someone beat you to it. So that's when you might be like, hey, man, just checking on deals because, look, agents are never more negotiable and more willing to work with you than when they just got their butt kicked and like their reputation's on the line because they made a promise. Because, you know, it looks
Right.
like it makes them look bad when somebody signs up and then signs a contract and doesn't follow through. First thing I say,
Sure.
if I had an agent, is like, hey, why didn't you check into them? They don't seem like you picked the wrong people.
Yeah.
Back when I used to be
Yeah.
a blamer, I'm not a blamer now, but I used to blame my agent when he would make mistakes. I'd be like, what were you thinking, man? You didn't know these people sucked? He's like, no, I didn't know. I was like, well, so on some level, I'm like, well, I guess we could know now. But so there is a way to know. I mean, that's what I'll teach you is a lot of ways to really take educated guess. But the thing is, the agent's feeling that pressure of failing and looking bad. And if you can come in, it definitely minimizes the pressure. And they're very open to saying like, hey, yeah, man, let's talk. And because most of the backup offers 3 weeks into a 4-week settlement are not hanging around anymore. They're not calling and checking in. So calling at that time, I have a student that's close to DC, Sabina, and she, you know, very difficult saying, can't get any deals. And I told her to do that. She did for a week and a half and got her first deal. And then she's been getting deals that way and actually told me she wasn't getting deals recently. And I asked her, hey, are you calling about stuff that, no, I stopped doing that like 3 months ago. I was like, why'd you stop doing it? Well, we have enough rehabs. I'm like, but now you need rehab. Start doing it again. She's like, oh yeah, good advice. I'm glad I talked to you. I was like, yeah, always do what worked, right? It definitely worked for her and it was working there and it'll work anywhere because deals will fall out. Even if they're falling out 1 out of 10, it's worth the phone call because you're making that connection. And I'm telling you, when deals fall apart, they're going to be happy to hear from you because
Right.
around a week from
Cool.
settlement, people start realizing like, I don't know if this is going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, they start getting that weird feeling and then you call up and it's just like you're reading their mind almost. So hey, that's worked really well for me. I haven't had to do it in a while because I've been getting stuff from, you know, the first 2 levels of researching. So that is the 3rd level and works really well. So,
Okay,
and
cool.
honestly, it's probably a good level these days because inventory is super low. So obviously you want to you make sure whatever inventory is out there, you're picking it up.
Cool.
All right, cool. Well, good luck with
All right, man. I got to haul ass. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. See you, man.
All right. Have a good one.
Awesome. So
Can you
Jim,
try to recap what you guys were talking about?
the appraisal or which one? The appraisal or making backup offers?
Making up backup offers.
Oh, so quick recap is whenever there's properties that like you're looking for stuff that comes on the market and you like the price.
Yeah.
That's called level A of searching because this would be good for Paul and for Jim. But level A of searching is like a house hits the market first day. Every day we check the market for 15, 20 minutes. We look at all the new listings. And if we see a listing, it's like, all right, 80K. And you're like, oh, I pay 80K in that neighborhood. So that's right around what I buy stuff for. And it needs 40K in work. And you're like, oh, wow, it's priced at a good price. I probably could pay full price. That for me, I get in my car and go see it as quickly as possible because that thing will be locked up in a day or 2, 3 days tops. Generally, right? If the bank will even accept it that quickly, but if it can be, it'll be locked up quick. So that's the first search, right? We're looking for that low hanging fruit. What we really love is anytime something's like at 60 and we can pay 80, because then we know we pay 20K over, and that happens quite often, but you got to be looking at a lot of data to see that. But that's the anomaly where, like, you know how many deals I've bought in the last, like probably 15 or 20 deals in the last 18 months that were listed like 15 to 20K under what I paid for it. Because what I find is in that situation, people aren't willing to pay what it's worth. Their greed always makes them try to pay what people are asking. So a great example of a deal I'm negotiating now is the lady said she wanted 120 to 140, but however, she's got people coming over, right? So I can pay 156 and I'm making really good money at 156. So I decided to make my offer seem super juicy because instead of being a greedy pig and knowing that if I offer 130, 140, she might not close right now. I want to give her an offer so conclusive that I told her this. I'm like, look, I'm going to give you a great offer, but I'm going to need a yes or no quickly. right? It's a strong offer, but I only have money to buy one house. I'm looking at another house and I need to do this, like, you know, it'd have to be a yes or a no on the spot. Cause she kept hitting me with like, well, I got some other people coming over through the week and I'm just going to accept the best offer. And, you know, I'm looking to get like 120 to 140, but you know, if other people get in the game, you think they're going to let that 120, 140 when I can actually probably pay about 175, 180 for it. So keep in mind, I am getting a big discount at 156, but I want to be smart and I want to pay enough to make my offer strong enough so I can lock her into a corner and get it done quickly. Because what I can't probably win against is shopping. If she shops me or if a bunch of other people come in, well, this is an area in Baltimore everyone overpays. So I've only done probably like 15 flips over my years, and it's a great area in Federal Hill. This is in Federal Hill, so like a really good part of Federal Hill, right by the Inner Harbor. Very, very difficult to get good deals there. So I'm getting a good enough number on it that I can, you know, it's a nice rehab. I'm trying to buy for 156, but 120 in, we're 400,000. So it's a really good deal. It's a very strong deal. I don't normally do those, but I don't normally get good prices like this either. So, well, you know, I will if I get a good enough price. So I'm not trying to be foolish enough to try to like think, oh, I can get it for the 120. Let's try, or 130. Let's try that. I'm saying, hey, I know she might take 120, 130 if all the stars align, but likely these other competitors are not going to let me do that, right? They're going to come in and bump me out on that. So the reason I tell you this story is when you're on the MLS, it's the same thing is true, right? When you're on the MLS, know that if something comes out at 60 and you can pay 80, make that 80K offer and say, I need a quick decision, especially if it's like a probate or something like that. I win so many deals. I won 2 years ago where there was 59,000. I offered 105 for it and literally got the agent to write it for me. Because that's the secret sauce. It's like I get the agent to write for me. The agent came back to me and said, you need to be at 107. Can you do that? And I was like, sure. And I made $57,000 on a deal. So, and I paid that much over. And every time I tell someone I paid that much over, I don't want you to care what it's listed for. I want you to care what it's worth, because the market will always end up paying what it's worth. So no, that's level one. Level two is of MLS searching is when you go on the MLS and you look for stuff that's been on a while. And even though they're a little overpriced, maybe they're open to a negotiation, kind of like this deal I just told you about in Pasadena. It's been on the market for almost 60 days. And I think they were at like 169 and they went to 159 and I made them an offer of 140. I guess it was 20K less, but I knew they would maybe have a conversation with me because 145 actually. And maybe they'd have a conversation with me because they've been out 60 days. They did. They actually countered me and said, hey, if you can do 156, we can make that work. Now, I was initially like, that's 10 grand more. I don't think I can make that work. But I went and looked at the comps and went and seen the house and realized me and Tanya figured out we put 4 bedrooms in it versus 3. That made a big enough difference. I start looking at the comps for 4 bedrooms. Guess what? 280 instead of 270. There's my 10 grand. And then if I do it and I'm listing it, I can take the 2.5% off because I'm my own agent. I'm like, this deal makes sense and works. And I can make like 35K on it. And I might even be able to sell it to like Jim and Nancy and just take a few $1,000 off of it. And just, you know, because I mean, depending on if I get a deal or not. But bottom line is it's a good Pasadena deal. And this is a very good neighborhood where things sell for more money than we normally expect and near the water. So it's just a good area. But that deal is on for 60 days. So that's level 2, like anything that's been out a while. And obviously we're not going to be making offers if something's listed for 200, we got to pay 110 because that's going to be too far fetched. We're looking for stuff that's just far enough out of the realm that people are like, oh, 160, that's too much. That's what a lot of other people are doing. But we're like, well, maybe they'll consider it now because they've had some time on the market and some seasoning. Right. So that's level 2. Level 3, and this is what we do. And you go through the levels, by the way, as you're doing MLS. If you find something from level 1 search, you stop and you work that deal. But some days you're going to look on the level 1 search and have nothing to look at, right? Because just no new inventory because you looked yesterday, nothing's new. Then you go to level 2 search, which is you're going to go back and see everything that's been on the market a while and find that. Then you get to level 2 and there's nothing. You're like, oh crap, let's go to level 3 search. Level 3 search is you're going to go back and you're going to find everything. You're going to look at only houses under contract and you're going to weed through those houses. And as you're looking at them, you're going to look for stuff that looks like a house you would have been interested in, but you missed out on. So maybe you weren't looking for a flip at the time, right? If you did a house that was on the market, say 5 weeks ago when you weren't really looking for a flip. Well, guess what? That one could be under contract right now and you could see it hasn't settled yet. It's a perfect phone call. Call the agent, say, hey, I seen you got 123 Main Street under contract. Looks like you're settling soon. I'm interested in, giving a really strong offer on that property. Do you guys think that one's definitely going to get the settlement? Just curious. Like, how's the deal looking? And people will be like, it's looking great, or no, it's actually, you know what, it might have some issues. Most time they're like, it's all good. But when we call 5 people, it's not uncommon to get 2 people to say, no, there's some shakiness. And one of those 2 people to actually like say, yeah, the shakiness turned into it not settling. So it's not uncommon if you call 10 people. This isn't like cold calling where you got to call 100 people and then one person says, yeah. This is going to be more like you call 10 people and you might get 2 or 3 people saying, let's talk. Either way, if it's 10 people and one person says yes, you've seen how quick that was the script, right? It was like, it's like under 2 or 3 minutes.
Well, I've been
tops.
looking at the scripts on the Flip Factor, Mace 3, whatever you want to call it. And one question I had was, what about expired listings? So when I worked before, I worked for a construction company and a broker. And they at one point suggested me calling expired. Now that was just for like listings.
Yeah, it's good for listings. It's not good for what we do necessarily.
It's not good for what we do. Okay, I was just asking.
And when I say it's not good, just so you know, I don't mean it wouldn't work, because I think I was saying this earlier. I think all marketing works, but it takes more effort on some marketing. So we try to go at the easiest level. So the 3 things I just told you, the first one, the first A search is the easiest, the B search is the second easiest, and the third easiest is the C search, right? So that's why we do A search first, because it's the fastest way to the finish line. But some days we're not going to have enough inventory and there's nothing to look at. So instead of being like, oh man, there's nothing, it's so tough out there right now, we go to the B search. And then time you go from A search, B search, and C search, it's impossible you won't have something to do. It's impossible. Right. And now every day you're getting the routine of actually looking at deals and creating opportunities. This is how we make the MLS work. This is why it works for us, because everyone's usually, what I find is most people are doing one of those 3 things, not all of them. And if they are doing one of them, they're rarely ever doing it consistently. They do until they get a deal, then they stop it, and then they come back 4 months later and it don't work the first 5 days they try it and they say it sucks, and next thing you know, they're paying for some crazy text messaging or something that they've seen online because they're like, it didn't work fast enough. But the reality is, like me and Ray's on now, he'll tell you, me and him have a talk every 2 months when he's like, I don't know, I think the MLS might be dying out. And then I'm like, Ray, stop telling me that, because I might start listening to you, because look, I get 3 weeks where nothing's working and I get nervous because it's the way.
Well, that's like how I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know I'm not doing it wrong. Like, like Mike and I have sat down, but I didn't know about the other 2 levels.
Yes.
So I think the active under contract is really cool, because I don't mind getting on the phone and call. I used to cold call, so I'm not affected by that. But that's a really good tactic to be able to put in, I guess, a backup offer if something falls through.
They'll drive for you. They'll tell you whether it's worth it or not. If they give you any hint of like they'd be interested, and just say, hey man, like where we need to be, you just start talking with them. It's a lead now.
Yeah.
Hey, talk about
conversation.
They would love having you sitting and waiting to make them look good if they needed to follow up. And Ray, can you hear me? Because I was saying Ray, actually a big part of where he wins is when he puts offers in and then his gets declined. They hold it as a backup offer, and then that person doesn't perform, and then Ray gets the deal. And it happens quite often for him, especially in his niche. And it happens quite often in all niches, but it happens a lot for him. So it's like definitely one of his power plays for sure. But either way, if you're going through all 3 searches, and you don't have to learn each right away, start with learning that first search because it's the best search. And honestly, I do that first search and I'm getting deals most of the time. That recently it's gotten so tight that I had to go to the second search in the first time in a year. So I haven't even gotten to the third search yet, but I went to the second. That's where I found that Edgewater in Pasadena. I found that on the second level search, something being on it a while. Makes sense? Okay. But then if say I wouldn't have found anything in there, then guess where I'd be going this week? But no, now it's time for me to go back to the first level search, because once about 3 to 5 days has went by, then even if you feel like there's nothing today, Friday there could be a bunch more, pop up. It's every day, it's an everyday thing. If you don't look at it like even 15 minutes a day, I'm telling you, there's like most deals I lose, it's because I got busy and didn't look for 2 or 3 days and something popped up. Obviously the day I didn't look, it popped up. That's just the way I feel like the flipping gods are. They're like rewarding you for being inconsistent or punishing you for being inconsistent. So, if you just do it every day, it's very hard. And I also want you to think like this. Yes, you probably are doing many things wrong, but don't think of it as wrong or right. Only think of it as I need to get better at it over time.
Mhm.
Because it's like a marketing thing. We were just talking about this before you jumped on. All marketing takes around 3 to 6 months for it to fully get like integrated and working. There's no difference with MLS versus you spending a bunch of money on anything else like paid marketing. MLS is the same way. So yes, there's going to be some things you do today that pan out tomorrow. And there's going to be some things you do better tomorrow that you weren't doing so well today. Right. And then as that happens and all that comes together, it's a compounding effect that will eventually you'll start getting easily a deal every month off the MLS. That is not in Maryland. That is a very real easy thing to do. I sometimes right now I've gotten like 7 or 8 deals in the last probably 2 months. And half of those 8 deals, half of them came from the MLS, half of them came from wholesalers. And none of them have come from marketing. But it's 8 deals in 2 months. That's 1 a week I've been getting. And I don't need 50 deals a year, but I've just gotten on this, like, I'm going to start looking for deals for everyone. So I got a couple of people I've given them to recently, like 4 students have gotten deals in the last couple of months. I have you on the list, obviously. So I'm going down my list of people who would ask me first. And then, so at some point, if you don't get a deal, you'll have a deal. I'll get you. So that's the cool thing. Because I don't want you going forever without a deal. I want you having a deal.
But it is good. I've been doing it. For the last call, you're like every day I get on there and consistent at. So then my brain this morning kind of was like ADD, and I was like, well, what about expired? But I don't know what I was thinking when I was like,
no, expireds they're a very common thing that people do. It requires more effort to do them. They're probably like a 7th or 8th level search. If I feel like the house flipping market was caving in, I might have to get to that. The reason I always tell people like, okay, there's never going to be a problem with finding deals because I'll just dig deeper, right? You just have to dig deeper when there's less deals. I haven't just started digging to 2nd level. I probably have 10 levels deep that I can go. I haven't even had to go to 2nd level. So when people are like, oh, there's nothing, like, dude, I'm like, there's plenty. You just aren't digging deep enough. And most of us aren't, most people don't even dig to the 1st level properly. But if you're digging in that 1st level, then you really could make it happen. With that being said, it's important that we dig through. So Tanya, can I send you the contract real quick? And so you can just write it the best you can and I'll help you fill it in. Okay. Let me go in 1 second. I had to send her a contract because she wants to send it over to the lady. Potentially the best deal of our life. I'm just happy to get our market.
That's awesome.
I don't know. It might be good. It might not be bad. We got to get it signed. But it sounds promising. Whenever somebody calls me and says, I have a deal and I only want X, then I generally do pretty well when I can offer more than X. She said 120 to 130 and 120 to 140. And I'm like, I can offer 156 pretty easily. And I even have a little room to negotiate if I need to. So we'll see.
Are you talking to, is the lady you're talking to, is that the actual like homeowner or is it an agent?
She is a lady I'm talking to, came from my PPC. So it's the daughter of someone who passed away.
No.
What's PPC?
What is she? Oh, the owner's alive? Oh, the mother's alive. So it's the daughter of a mother who's not dead. Sorry.
Oh, that just doesn't want the house anymore.
She's living somewhere else or doing something. She ain't living there anymore. It's down in like Federal Hill, a really good part of Federal Hill.
Yeah, I used to live down there at Harbor Villas.
Yeah, we never get stuff in Federal Hill, just for the record. It's like no one ever calls from Federal Hill. Hey, Jim, you had a question earlier. Can I help you with that? You said you were asking me about firing someone in a lien. I was super busy because it's Tuesday, but I'm glad. Thank you for jumping on the call. See if you can hear me. Jim, are you naked or are you dressed? It's all good either way. Just don't hit that video button. Christine doesn't mind, but me and Paul are like, nope. Like, nah, man, don't do it. All right, we'll see. He's probably
I'll just leave the room.
So I know. All right, we don't want to see it. Go ahead, Paul. What do you got?
I had a lead through one of my driving for dollars type things. Person happens to be an acquaintance of my father and others, right? And so there's been quite a bit of rapport and trust, I guess, built up between us. But our numbers are a little bit apart, some distance away, right? I'm, from what I can see, again, being pretty conservative with some of the numbers, I'm coming in somewhere with an offer price around 127, 128. She needs, or she's looking for 155. Okay, so that's
How much are you putting into it?
I'm guessing again, I'm gonna see if I could walk through. I haven't walked through yet. She showed me pictures and I, again, did my best guess based on what she described. But
Okay.
I'm estimating around 40, 35 to 40 in there. It has solid bones. I'd have to do a kitchen, full kitchen, right?
What is it worth once it's done?
Once it's worth, just down the street from her, right? A house that's very similar, had an extra bedroom framed in there, went for 259, 259,000, and that was like 2 months ago.
Now, will your house be as good as that house, or can you bring it up to that level?
Oh no, mine won't fetch that.
Okay,
The other
so
one-
what are
No,
houses
so-
like yours selling for?
So I get that back. I take that back. So yes, I can bring hers up to that standard.
Oh, cool. So you could get
Yes.
255, 260, you believe.
I could
And
get
was
it.
that a pretty quick sale? And was there any help going off of it?
Which one?
The 259, the AR, you said it sold for 259.
Yeah,
Couple
it sold for
questions I
250.
would look at is like, did it give help back, and how long did it take to sell? If it
Yeah,
sold
so
quick,
there,
that's good.
there's had a Hubbard clause, right? That one that sold for 259. It took like 60. It was 60 something days on market. They had a Hubbard clause, but it sold, right?
What does the Hubbard clause mean?
Oh, I mean, the seller sold contingent to them finding another property they liked to be able to.
Oh,
get.
got it. So it took 60 days to settle, but how long did it take for them to get it under contract? You know, it'd be like days on market to getting it.
Days on market was 60. That's what I
60
saw.
days
on
to
it.
get it, so
Yeah.
60 days still. Okay. Oh, when they were selling it. Okay, hold on. The people
So-
selling the house needed to buy another house.
Correct. So I
Understood.
don't
That's
know. I
unusual.
don't
So
know
it's
how
not a
long it took.
rehabber.
Right.
So was this a
Right,
rehabbed house though, or was it
It
truly
was. It looked like they spent some money to renovate it before
Okay.
because everything was
Yeah, so it's
tip-top.
nice. Got
Yeah,
it. It was
really well done. Really well done.
So that helps, but the 60 days is concerning because
Mhm.
anytime I see 60 days, then I have to take a deduction for that because
Okay.
I know that like even just going to 249, I might be able to get this thing not to sit on the market. But we can assume that 60 days wasn't to like make people go crazy price. That
Right.
clause makes it a little trickier for sure. But do you have other comps that are suggesting that same thing?
No, that's the high end. The
What's the
mid range for me is like 239, right?
So
230,
is the next comp go from 259 to 239?
239.
And then the next comp after that?
After that, there are a bunch in the 230s, and then like 225. So again,
Yeah. It feels like it might be more like the 240 range, not the
Right.
260 range, just
Right.
because you can't really count. If we threw that one comp out, then it would just be 230, 240 all day, right? It would almost be,
Right.
you wouldn't even be thinking the higher number. And they did take 60 days. So sometimes, I used to have a student who loved to prove me wrong, and he would leave his houses on the market for 6 months and then always come brag to me how he got 15K more than me on the same flip. And I'm like, you're on the market 6 months, dude. Come on. He's like, I don't care. I got 15K more. And I'm like, I can't run a business like that, though. He had $5 million. He won playing poker. So he could do whatever he wanted. He loved, like, that was his joke. He loved just buying stuff. And he'd be like, I just set the comps for the whole neighborhood. You just take me to lunch. I'm like, I will take you to lunch. Thank you. Because I'm not blazing that trail. That's a crazy trail to blaze. So when we're listing, what we learned from that, because he gave me the study I would never do, right? I'm never have the confidence to sit out for 6 months and try to get a crazy high price. I always reduce so I can get my house sold, because flow of money is highly important. We need the money flowing. When you have unlimited money, you hit the lotto, then we'll talk about a different strategy, right? Or, we'll just talk about how you order your margaritas. I'll coach you on that. But you get my point. We don't really need to talk about, but when we don't have unlimited funds, then deal flow is highly important. It is for everyone on this call, myself included. So we always want to think of what price do we know we'll have like zero issues selling. 249, 235 sounds like that's the number on that. So if you're thinking that it's that price, then obviously the 150 something she wants is
way
not
out.
good enough. So it is way out, but don't get too butthurt about that, because I've gotten a lot of deals where I've been able to make the numbers work. But I used to find it very confrontational, and I really resisted it because I didn't enjoy telling people and breaking their hearts and telling them like, oh man, I can only give you 120. I know you want 150. So I still did it because I knew I had to make money. But there was this weird little pain in my chest when I would do it. I just didn't like doing it. I don't know if you've ever felt, or anyone, some people, maybe you guys are heartless animals and you feel nothing, but I feel the pain, just for the record, a little pain. I'm not saying I pay too much because of it, but I would love to be able to give them what they want. You think I love making the phone call to this lady now and telling her I can pay her more, That's awesome. That's exciting for me. But when there's a difference, what I've done is I've created a system for how I handle when I have to offer somebody less. Because if I just come in there and tell them that, hey, I know you want 150, but really I can only give you 120, that generally is not enough to convince them, right? Because it's just your word against like what their belief is. And, you know, it's pretty tough unless they're highly motivated or desperate. They might go for it then. So what I like to do is a presentation. And the presentation kind of goes like this. And it basically, I pull up your top three, not get rid of that 250. No, you don't care about that, but pull up a couple comps that suggest it's around 230. I'm going to tell them, when I tell them a number, I never tell them my hopeful number, which I think 240 is top, really truly the top of the market, but we know it'll sell for 230. So I'm going to tell them, look, hey, here's what things are selling for, 230, right? And I show them that. I say, here's comp one. You know this house? Okay, you familiar? You ever seen it? All right, that one sold for 230. Here's comp number two. It's only, you ever seen this one? You know this person? No, I've never seen it. But yeah, it looks just like yours, or like what yours is going to look like once we're done fixing it up. That one sold for 232, right? And this one sold for 227. So we're thinking your house is going to be worth about 230 when it's done. Now, then I pull out and say, here, let me share with you the numbers. Here's a line item budget of the money I'm going to put into it. And then I show them that. And then, you know, I line item it out too, because you know, it makes sense then. They know I'm not pulling this out of my butt and just making up some off the wall decision on what their home is worth. So then I say, look, here's what I'm putting into it. You know, we're going to fix this up, that. And then I always bump that up a little bit because, again, I want to be a little on the conservative side. I don't want to be cheap because I want to think worst case scenario, what is it? So I'll probably show them a slightly lower comp of 230, and I'll show them maybe if you think it's 40, I'll be like 45. And what happens there with that 15K is now I can show them a deal analyzer and they can say, hey, and so let me just show you, this is how the math works. I buy it for, you know, X and put this much in, sell it for this. You can see here, I'm only making like 15K, right? Because remember that other 15K, I'm really making 30. I'm hoping I'll make 30, but let's think on a bad day, I could only make 15. So I'm going to give them the bad day version of this
scenario. Right.
First of all, that bad day could happen. So I don't feel like we're ever lying. I'm not going to, you know, I'm not coming in and fluffing my numbers up, but we, you know, we're hopeful we'll do a lot of good things and make the 30 plus K work. So I show them that and I'm saying, I'm making 15K. And obviously if you were buying a house and renovating, you'd want to make at least 15K, wouldn't you? And every single person to date, I mean, I've said this probably 1,000 times, has said, oh, well, of course I want to make that. And as soon as I can get them to agree that the money I'm making is fair, they emotionally are agreeing to the number I'm offering. Because they've agreed. So do you see how I'm getting them agreed all the way around? I get them to agree to the numbers things are selling for and say, hey, do you think those are reasonable based on what you're seeing? And Paul, you're like, yeah, that looks reasonable. Okay, now you see I'm putting 45K in. Here's some of the stuff I'm doing. Does that feel about right? Is that about what you were thinking you would have to be put into the house? Yeah, that sounds right, Paul. Yep. If they say, no, that doesn't sound right. Well, tell me, what were you thinking, Paul? Well, I was thinking like 20, but or were you considering all those things you see in my line item budget? Were all those things in there? Oh, well, not really. I was just thinking you just do some paint and carpet. Oh, well, yeah, maybe we could do paint and carpet. I think if we do paint and carpet, what things are selling for is about 210 though. So maybe it would make some sense. I think if we could do a little more, maybe we can get more money for it. And so you see, we're always getting an agreement. If we can get them to agree to the comps, agree to the line item budget, and then look at the deal analyzer and agree that 15K is fair, that is a fair number, then emotionally they've agreed to our offer being fair. And that's all we want. We're only battle we're trying to win. We're not trying to get them to accept our offer. We're trying to get them to accept our numbers, accept that the numbers we're giving them as facts and being as real and facts, because they are, by the way. But if you just come up and say, yeah, I think it's worth this, they don't take you serious. But if you walk them through and you get agreement every step of the way, it's impossible for them to say anything other than like, here's what I get all the time. Those numbers make sense and let's go forward. And that's not what I get every time, but I get one version of that, either that or those numbers make sense, but I just can't make that work. But I totally see where you're coming from and why you're offering what you're offering. So what I love about this presentation is no one ever tells me I'm stupid. No one says, oh God, I can't, you're just being cheap, you're trying to lowball me. Because that would hurt me when people would tell me that. And so now when I start with this presentation, it increases my buy-in from them, meaning that one or two things could happen, or one or a couple things, but one main two things will happen. They'll either give me a yes now, maybe a yes later, or I wish I could work with you because this makes total sense and we have something to think about, right? We got to figure out what we're going to do, because they leave there knowing that their plan of trying to get 150 is not a good plan. It's not going to happen. So now you've set up really well to call back in a month. Because guess what? They're going to call every other We Buy Houses and they're going to be like, no, we can't pay 150. Now you call back a couple weeks, a month, check in, how's things going? Are you still looking to sell your house? Well, at some point, if they have the ability to sell for the 120 or whatever you want to offer them, then ultimately they just sometimes need to confirm it, right? They need to confirm it. Now, what I've also done is if wherever that you're pretty far off, but if we're pretty close, then we might be able to say, look, I can't pay 130, but I can pay 120. Does that work? And if you're like, no, I really need 130. I'll say, look, I can't buy it for 130, but I work with a lot of investors and I'd be willing to put it under contract, send it out to my investors and see if I can get a partner on this that would make this work. And I do all that. It doesn't cost you anything for me to do that. It'll probably take us a couple of weeks. I'll eat up my time, but that'll be free of charge to you. And if I can find someone to buy for 130, great. Does that make sense? Would you like to do that? And people almost are always like, sure, as long as I get my 130. And then what do? We go out and see if we can wholesale it for 140, 135 even. But if we can't, then a month later, or 30 days, 3 weeks later, it's a great time to have the conversation of, well, you've seen all the people coming through your house and you've seen how many of my investors I got through and my partners. Yeah, they were all saying no. They were all like, that's not going to happen. So now what's happened is they've been softened up a little bit to have a new conversation. So I generally end up either getting in a wholesale deal or getting like the deal itself. So most of my wholesale deals sell for that reason, because either I end up buying it again when they finally are like, I'll just take your 130, let's do it. Because it was only 10K difference. And that's how I worked the 10K out, because I've had too many deals that where if I just would pay 10K more, I get it. And I don't like to leave it on the table because people get too strong on their number. And it's just a principle thing where they just don't want to give the deal up unless they get their 10K. So they're the options when you're working with like a friend. But if you lay those comps out, you talk to them, it just becomes like difficult for them to argue with you. Because that's what's uncomfortable. We don't want to argue. We don't want them feeling like we're taking advantage of them, because you're truly not. You can show them the facts. You can show them the proof. All you got to do is get buy-in on the comps, get buy-in on the rehab budget, and then buy-in on the 15K in profit you're making as being reasonable. And you're good to go from there. I mean, I'm not saying you'll win every time. I'm just saying you'll win so much more often that you're going to really love it. And it's a pretty easy process to follow. So it's it's not salesy. Like I've been through like John Martinez and a lot of different stuff. And we really believe in anti-selling. So when I sit with people, I'm so honest and upfront that I don't ever have to sell, because I'm just like, here's the comps, here's what I'm paying, here's what I'm making. Obviously I'm maneuvering the numbers a little so that I'm in my favor here, but I'm not lying. It's for the most part, it's the truth depending on what the outcome is. But then at the end of the day, I'm being straightforward. I'm being honest. I'm not saying, well, let me ask you, Paul. Well, I'm not starting with those old sales lines. It sounds like I'm hiding, because people today are too smart for that. They are way educated. They've watched enough Netflix and seen enough shows on TV. They've seen Glengarry Glen Ross, and they've seen the movies. They know when they're being sold, and people lose tons of trust for someone when they're not being honest. So if we can come in and we can just be honest, show them the numbers, have this really good back and forth, I have to tell you, like 98% of people really enjoy that interaction and leave there. I've had people give me referrals, sell a deal to someone else and then refer me to a friend. Like, how insane is that when they like sold it to this other rehabber because he paid more, but they love me so much that they referred me to a friend. And put good stuff on my Facebook, and they didn't even buy my deal, right? They didn't even sell me the deal. Like, it's pretty awesome. It's a really great way of doing business. This is for private leads, obviously, and how I would handle yours. And try that and see. I'm sure that's going to work much better than just telling them the number, and then, give a little more interaction with it.
That's good. That's good. No, I'm definitely going to try that.
Okay, cool. Ray, what's up, man? How's everything going? I'm trying to see if we can get Steve or Jim.
I shot you a quick email. We got that home inspection list. They took it down to like 28 or 29 items, and it's actually pretty light stuff.
Cool.
A majority of it we actually already had completed already. It was like super easy. I had the electrician there today. There's two things on there that I'm not sure how to tactfully respond to. So I don't know if that came through, if you could open it and read the responses that we wrote.
Can you tell me the two things, or let's see.
It was for the front of the house is stucco, and I'll even see if I can open it on my computer.
They're saying that it was installed improperly.
So the front of the house was stucco, and it says, because I think everything else we're pretty up to speed with. We got clear radon back. So they say the stucco siding is in contact with the roof shingles in the front. It should have a 1 to 2 inch gap. The stucco used for the front wall appears to be installed not in a manner consistent with manufacturer and or modern building techniques. There's no apparent window or door perimeter bond breaking joints. There is staining below the front top window, which may be indicative of moisture penetration damage behind the stucco. I would like the stucco cladding to be inspected by a qualified stucco specialist prior to settlement.
I don't even know what would be considered a stucco specialist. So probably what I would say, and this is how I'd respond, is that, just say, I see what you're saying, and in that ballpark, like we will have like a licensed contractor evaluate and repair as necessary the front stucco on the house. Because
there's nothing wrong with it though. That's the challenge. Like there's not even hairline cracks in it.
So what about, so he's saying the window thing being stained. What is that? Is that just cracks?
No, it's stucco, and stucco's concrete. And in his report, there were thunderstorms on the day of the inspection. It was wet.
Oh,
it's
but
wet.
the simple way not to argue it over it is just letting them know, like, hey, I would literally call the agent and say, look, we're going to agree to this one, but we already had someone look at it, and there's not an issue there. So you can just say no, just tactfully. You can just say, look, but I think what's easier is to say that you'll have a licensed contractor evaluate it and see if that's a thing. Just like you can even say, we don't believe this is an issue, but we're willing to have a licensed contractor look at it and let us know what they think. And we'll repair as necessary, per the contractor. You might even want to write in there, however, if the contractor thinks there's nothing wrong here because there doesn't seem to be anything wrong, then you're okay with that, right? That's going to be important, because otherwise, like they think whenever you say yes to any repair that you have to do a repair. But lots of times, like this repair, doesn't sound like there's anything wrong. But
there's not. And that's like my response was, the home's approximately 20 years old and shows no evidence of any stucco issue. I always go back to their report. Put the inspector's report does not specifically call out any part of the stucco system actually failing. He just makes a suggestion that it might not.
This is just a suggestion, and those aren't really supposed to ever make it on the list. So sure, I think that's a great response. Just respond and verbally talk about it though before you send it over. Just whenever you verbally talk about it, and just say, hey, this is what's kind of going on with it, like, so they're set up for it.
Okay, and then the other one. So the house was built with a French drain already in. A sump pump and interior drain have been installed. The buyer says, I would like a transfer of a warranty from this work to be given, and I would like a battery backup system installed so that the sump pump can work in case of lost electricity.
So your response to that is that, hey, this is a 20-year-old French drain system, so we don't have a warranty. It came with it, or just say there's no warranty available with the French drain. It was installed before we had ownership, and battery backup is considered a upgrade. If we would be more than happy to install that if you'd like to add that to the contract price.
Okay.
That's it. So just, way, this is like what I try to master when it comes to this is trying not to say no to people. Does that make sense? But not saying yes either, because I'm not agreeing to it, but you could just say there's no warranty because there's not, like, we didn't install this. So this was an existing, or it's existing, it's in fine working order. There's nothing wrong with it. A battery backup is considered per, like how contracts are done, considered an upgrade, and not necessary piece of a negotiation. If you guys would like us to install one, I don't know what it costs. It's probably $300 or $400. We could get a price for it and we could add it to the contract. Please let us know if you'd like to do that. The second you start asking them to pay for these upgrades, we'll see how serious they are about getting them.
Okay.
Most of the time they want them if it's on your dime, but if it's not on your dime, and I think that's very reasonable, because if they really just want it, then, give me, what's the difference in 260 and 260, 300, right? Who cares? Like, no big difference. But it isn't, we're not giving out free charity, and I think we have to get clear on that.
That's what Michael's saying. They won't ask for it to be done at that point.
They might, but then you just change you write an addendum saying we're changing the contract price from 260 to 260, 500, and agree to do a battery backup. It would just be an addendum saying that, in return for the change in sales price.
Okay. And then the last one, there's steps in the garage, and there's an attic over the garage. They're saying that this is a fire hazard because it's basically a hole cut in the garage ceiling now up to the attic where the attic stairs are. Then it says the basement stairs should have proper fire stopping installed below the attic. Like, how do you put fire stopping below attic steps and still have them functional?
Again, I think this is this comes into I will have a licensed contractor evaluate and repair as necessary. That's my go-to thing if we don't
Okay.
want to argue over stuff, because again, I don't disagree with you, but if you have someone look at it, it's kind of like what Paul, I was telling him, if he just goes out and says, here's my offer, people don't believe it. But if you agree and say, hey, you know what, I don't think what you're saying is right, but I'm more than willing to have a contractor take a look at it and fix it if he thinks we need to. Right. And then, I'm cool with that. Because see, now it's not you arguing with them and just like you're trying to get out of work. It's actually someone who is, all home inspectors defer to the contractor, right? Because the home inspectors aren't allowed to they're allowed to point things out, but they're not allowed to say how things should be done. So at any point, the contractor should supersede any home inspector. So you say, I will get a licensed contractor to evaluate and give his opinion and then repair according to his opinion. Right. Because
Okay.
I mean, again, that's probably the best you can do. I used to fight all this stuff because I felt like it was unreasonable, but I realized if I agreed to a lot of it, just agreeing that I would actually check it out, then a lot of times people were okay if someone else would tell them that it was fine and give a reason why.
Okay.
And then maybe they look at it and say, hey, Ray, they're right. You need to do X, Y, Z. And then they do it and then say, hey, we did this. Sometimes just a small repair and then, giving a letter back saying, hey, we looked at it and evaluated and here's what the problem is. And we did these 3 things and we're all good. And then they feel warm and fuzzy because you've given them everything. I can tell you that for the record, you won't be dealing with this much in this economy. This is really, truly a very, very tough seller. And yeah, it sucks, but it's good practice for when things aren't as good, because you will deal with this more when things aren't as good. We used to deal with this all the time. I rarely ever deal with this now, just from a home inspection standpoint. I had somebody just today that I almost like kicked out because they were asking for so much stuff. And eventually I got to a conclusion. They called me the day of settlements today and they said, oh, we did a reinspection today and there's 13 items you need to fix. And I'm like, are you nuts? I was like, we're just backing out. And then they were like, oh, okay, well, can you just fix the one? And I'm like, well, why'd you ask for 13? Like, that's insulting. I mean, I was like, and the lady's like, oh, well, my client told me I needed to. And I'm like, but she would be devastated if she lost this deal. I'm like, well, don't ask for 13 items that don't exist, like ghost items. Like,
Yeah.
like this person. It's very much like this person. The reason I know why this is happening, though, she used this guy named Neil Teitelbaum, and I've dealt with him 2 times in the past, and both times I literally blacklisted him. And she
Oh, I
didn't.
think that's who inspected my house, for the record.
Probably, yeah, it could be him. But I mean, like, Neil Teitelbaum is a guy who is insane. He's like Mike Holmes. You ever seen Holmes on Holmes?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's
Mike
like that dude.
too.
Yes, he's like Mike Holmes, and he just runs through and he's like, he's insane and stuff he says. He literally came back. One of the things on that list was they asked us to put dirt on the side so that drainage would drain away from the house. And they were like, the dirt you put on the side is fine. However, we would like to see it compacted and seed and hay put on it. And I'm like, that was like perfect for me because it was so dumb that I was able to say, hey, agent, like, really, you asked for that? Like, seriously? Like, this is why your deal is going to fall apart and I'm selling it to someone else. I started the negotiation with this. Hey, sorry, I have bad news. I gave your outrageous list to the investor, and unfortunately they didn't react well, and they've decided not to give you an extension until Friday and take your seller's deposit. Sorry about that. I wish we could have worked this out. That was my first response to her. What do you think they did? Oh my God, are you sure? Can't we just work this out? Well, can you call me so we can talk about it? And then she got her mortgage broker to call me, and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to work it out. And the next thing you know, I knew the whole time I was not gonna let my deal die, because at any point I could say, hey, I went and talked to them and I got you in back in. All right, I can help, but I started from a very strong position of like, hey, I don't think this is going to work out, and fortunately the investor's completely upset now because you guys are asking for insane stuff. And that was it. From there, they begged me to take their deal at that point, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll do it. I'll be a nice guy. Meanwhile, I was never planning on not doing it. But actually, I would have dumped the deal out if they would have tried to make me do all 13 things, because that was just unfair, and I have a hard time living with myself. I can't sleep at night if I'm out there putting seed and hay on stuff, like on dirt they asked me to put down, which the dirt was a stupid request in the first place. I did it just to make them happy because I got 20K more. And then the reality was, though, then they hit me with like, I'd like you to put some seed on it and some hay. Come on, man. Like, put some seed and hay on it yourself, dude. You don't know what kind of market we're in right now. It's like one house for sale. You want to go buy that one then. So they instantly backed off of it. And the reason I can get away with that right now is because people really there's no other houses for them to go get. And an agent was doing no favors. And that guy, the reason I blacklist him is right now, he's an awful home inspector to use. because people right now are almost like you come back and ask for 5 items and people are like, now we're okay. We're going to take this other offer. Take it as is, or we're going to go with this backup offer. That's
Okay.
what's happening in the market right now. Like people are actually backing out of deals. There's not enough good inventory that people are just like, no, we're not doing that. $600,000 deal fell apart a year ago because the guy wanted a ceiling fan. And I was like, and the guy's like, no, F him. I'm not, it was a private sale. I was listing for someone. He's like, no, I'm not doing a ceiling fan. And I'm like, okay, cool, man. I'll take care of the ceiling fan. Don't even worry about it. He's like, no, tell him I'm not doing it and you're not doing it either. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, no, the ceiling fan's a ridiculous request. It works fine. Like he bought the house as is. And like, you know, like, what does he mean? He wants a ceiling fan. That's crazy. And I'm like, hey, he's not going to do the ceiling fan. And they're like, F him, tell him if he ain't doing the ceiling fan, we're not doing the deal. And I'm like, okay, I mean, what could I give you like $100 of credit for my commission? Would that work? No, tell him he's doing the ceiling fan. We're killing it. And I was like, what in the world? But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? Both sides, one of the sides should have been cool. This was unfortunately a referral. I would not otherwise worked with them. And the reality though was the other side was being crazy because I was like, dude, I'll give you the $100. Let me give you like a $100 Home Depot card and you put a fan up yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
like, no, I didn't mind because we sold it for 10K more. We put it right back on the market and got 10K more. But that's what I'm talking about. Like sellers are being insane right now because they know they don't have to deal with that. And that's private sellers. As flippers, I feel like we're more reasonable than anyone, right? I think we give more and we do more repairs because it isn't hard for us to do. But I would say that like if they're out giving stuff like that, it's good for you to educate them and say, look, this isn't going to fly right now. This is like the reason you're even willing to do half the repairs that they're coming up with is because you can easily do that work. A homeowner would never even consider doing all that work because they'd go get a GC and the guy would be like 15K to do all that or something, or 10K. They're just like give them some stupid price. So I think you're good, man. Respond. But if there's anything you could say yes without actually saying yes, but maybe defer it to someone else besides you, like a third party to look at it and then, you know, and give us some feedback on whether this actually needs to be done. I think that would be fine.
Okay.
At some point though, to be in this, you're going to have to be willing to lose. I know when I sent that text, I was willing to lose. So I sent that text and they could have been like, yeah, okay, cool.
Well, at this point, apart from those 2 items, in all honesty, like as long as they're okay with the stucco thing and this sump pump stuff, everything else, in all honesty, is not between the electrician and the contractor. Yeah. It's not going to be like 3 hours worth of work combined between the two.
That's no big deal. The two that you're concerned about are very open-ended. Does that make sense for everybody? Like they're very open-ended requests that aren't very clear on what they want.
Well, those are typical home inspections. That's I was joking because the one guy that works for us is a home inspector. And I said, it's the greatest job in the world. It's like a weatherman because you don't have to know enough to know how to fix it. You get to defer to an expert, but you're allowed to know enough to charge $500 to tell people it doesn't look right.
Yeah,
but they don't tell you what the procedure is to fix it, but they know enough to tell you that it's not right. So it's like this perfect job.
Yeah. And honestly, that's what this guy's saying. Like, I'm not sure if it's bad, but maybe you should get someone to look at it, which is a little bit of an unfair statement. I do always argue that, hey, listen, is it broke? If it ain't broke and you don't know why it's broke, then why would I get someone to look at it? Like, there's no damage being done. Nothing's failing. We only ask for things that are broke. So I do have that conversation up front that I'm only going to accept things that are broke, I will fix. But things you're going to tell me that might be broke 20 years from now, probably not going to happen. So just know that up front. And then that's basically how we handle it with them. We're just like, hey, look, it's not broken. So the reason I hate the two that you're talking about, and I do think you need to kind of change the response to them, is because they're not clear. They don't make any sense. And basically,
well, they're not clear because nothing's failing.
Sure, exactly. And then if you agree to it, you could be like in this place where they're never happy. Because if it isn't clear what you're agreeing to, then how do you know they'll be happy? So what you're really doing right now is clarifying the problem and saying, look, there's no real problem. How would you like us to handle this? Worst case scenario, hey, I'll get someone to look at it. And if they agree this is an issue, then we'll deal with it. But if not, then you're going to have to be okay with that also. And that's basically the kind of the bottom line of the conversation. It's the simplest way to, it's better than just saying no, because like when you just say no, what happens is you easily get in that battle, like those two guys I just told you about, where they're battling over a fan, and it's like they killed this was a $600,000 deal, by the way. So they killed a $600,000 deal, and the people buying were idiots because like they got a good deal on the house. Like they literally so stupid over a fan. I don't know what they were thinking, but they were just all being emotional. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, huh, I mean, the only reason I usually can solve almost any problem. I didn't solve the problem because I knew we went back to market, we'd get more. And we did.
Yeah.
So I was just like, you know what, this ain't a big deal. We're only like
And
5.
what was your verbiage too that you said we can install the battery backup thing, but it's gonna be an upgrade to the property, so we can provide a price.
Oh
for the
yeah,
buyer
just
if
say
they're interested.
So yes, I would just say that battery backup is considered an upgrade. You know, and if buyer would like us to get a price and have that done, seller would be willing to do so at buyer's cost, right? And
Okay.
you know, that's it. So you can just leave that. Because if they want it, I mean, if I've had people want to kill a deal because they want something, then I'm just say, hey, are you willing to pay for it? And then they either pay for it or they're like, we don't really want it.
Okay. All right.
Like,
Cool. I got
funny
that.
when it's their money, they don't spend it as fast.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't. They used to be cheap like that. He was like, yeah, hold on. No, I'll take some. No, I'm okay. You got to pay for it. No, all right. Like, no, I don't have the budget for that. He was very frugal. So yeah, I think that should be good, man. You've done good work. You've gotten them halfway down. These are tricky. This is a lose-lose situation when you get these kind of home inspections. So, you know, you'll feel like you lost at some level, but so they, and they're, you know, it's just not good. But anyhow, you're all good to go because you're getting enough more than, you're getting 15K more than the next offer. So that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Got a little room to work with. Awesome. So Jim, can you hear me yet? I know Jim had a question, but he might be in the middle of something. Let me see. I can't unmute him. Jim Cook. Hey everyone. So if you guys don't know Paul's actually new to the group. He just started a couple days ago. Paul, it's Ray, obviously you can see, and Christine.
Yeah.
And her husband Micah and her are part of the group, and Micah's an agent, and Ray actually and Hannah are in New Jersey. Hannah works with them. She's the killer agent, and Christine and Micah's the agent, but Christine's the designer, and she's doing all the design and stuff and kind of managing the contractors. Jim and Nancy are a couple. They're on. We got a lot of couples, right? Really, you gotta have a wife to come in this group, so you gotta have like a couple, someone to back you up and support you. You know, someone can help out. Jim and Nancy are on, and Jim does a little bit of the renovation. Nancy does, you know, some of the finding deals and, you know, whatever. They kind of do whatever's needed, right? And I think that's everyone in. And Alec, who was in earlier, him and Nina actually work together, and he's from San Diego. So, and Alec just sold a deal. The reason he had to run off is he just had a deal. He listed for $375, and you know, was at a place where he was ready to accept like 30K over list, and we talked and we kind of stopped and regrouped and went back and highest and bested everyone third time. And his agent actually was willing to call like 20 some people. And it was pretty impressive that she was willing to do that, because we've had problems getting them to do that in the past. But she was able to get somebody up 32K higher. So they ended up netting, instead of like originally thinking it was going to be like 405, they ended up getting it to 442 is where they ended up at. So that's why he was a little concerned with the comps, because he's about 64K or 67K over his list price, and his list price is where the comps were. So, and it's a townhouse in San Diego, so it is a little more difficult for us with the townhouse. So we created a strategy last week on our call where he's about 10 blocks from the beach, and when you get about 3 blocks from the beach, the value actually goes up. So we're going to try to convince them to use the 3 blocks from the beach comps that were like high as he sold his, because he literally sold a 10 beach. Again, it's very close. It's only a couple blocks away. So we're hoping that that's going to work, and we'll get an opportunity to see. What he said happened, and this is interesting for you, Ray, is he said the first guy came in and he shared the comps with him, like emailed him, and he's like, these comps aren't going to work, and this deal's so overpriced. He actually went back to the buyer and said, hey, we probably shouldn't let this appraisal go through, because if we do, you're going to have to bring a bunch of money to the table. And they went back to their loan officer and got him kicked off the appraisal and got a new appraiser. I was like, I ain't never heard of that, but apparently now that's a possibility. And you know, there's some pretty good agents in San Diego, so they're probably, you know, they were willing to do it. They're like, let's keep this deal together. So, and we've already set the expectation that he might not get the whole 443 or 442, or he might not get all that, but we want to get as much of it as possible, right? It's all real money. So if we can get the 440 something, this is real money. But if he gets 432, 430, we just want to know that we get the right appraiser, we give the right story behind it, and we push him hard enough that we get as much as we humanly can. So he set his expectation that he might not get all of it, but what we don't want is him getting like a 400K appraisal and leaving 42,000 or 43 on the table. That'd actually be problematic. So my experience has been, I've sold a couple of things recently for 50K over list, and we've been able to get things appraised. We've had like one recently that came in 5K lower, but that was like it. And that wasn't even my personal house. That was a house I was selling for Tanya's like father-in-law. And yeah, it was really dirty. And like the highest comp of a rehabbed was like 180, and I got like 195. And his house was like this laminate floor with dust on the, like dirty because he had renters in there. He cleaned it up a little bit, but it definitely wasn't. It was more like a C versus like the A that we normally put out. So the fact that we ended up getting 190 for it instead of 195 still was actually a pretty good day. So I explained that to him, and he was like, yeah, that's pretty good, man. We got more than I thought, so it's all okay. And I was like, I know, but you don't even realize, like, we probably should only got like 170. So this was a really good day. But, row homes struggle. And so the key is we want to meet the agent. We want to give them the comps. We want to give them something to attach to. We want to take everything serious so we don't have our houses under appraising. Right now, our houses are under appraising very rarely, right? We're not running into it that often. Ray, you've run into it 1 or 2 times in maybe the last year. I remember you were telling me about the one.
Twice.
And the one you ended up getting out of contract with and just selling it to someone else and getting
Yeah, the one went out of contract twice. We had a
Yeah.
felon, and then we had a bankruptcy, and then we got a cash buyer.
Yeah, so no, it ended up working out. But bottom line is that he's had like 2 appraisals. One you accepted, I guess, and the other one you just ended up selling to someone else.
They both came in low, but those were the 2 where the deal fell apart anyway.
Oh, got it. So have you had to take any haircuts yet and since we've been working together?
Knock on wood, no.
Got it. So, all right. You see, the point I'm making is if you follow the system, and you guys, they've had, just for the record, they've sold a bunch of houses for considerably more than where they listed it. And they're listing it at the comps, and they've gotten some pretty good numbers. I know they got a 412 recently that, like, legitimately, that's a good number. They're getting some strong numbers on their houses. So, if you meet them, you do everything I tell you, you're not going to have major appraisal problems here. And I'm telling you, people call me all the time and they're like, yeah, we got 20K over list. And then they're like, yeah, and they appraised it for, where we listed. So, and I'm like, that's 20K you left on the table. Oh, did your agent meet them? No, my agent didn't meet them. They were busy. Like, you got to meet them, give them comps. You got to tell them why you think it's that. We even upped the sales price as soon as we go under contract. We're taking, like, if we're listed, like Alec was listed at 375, I told him to take the sales price up to 443. So that way it looks like they listed it for 443 and sold it for 443, right? That feels better than when the appraiser, and if the appraiser digs deep enough, they can see that you changed the price, but most time they don't. They're busy right now. They're super busy. And we actually got Alec to change the square footage because some of the comps on his were a little bit bigger. So he changed the square footage just a little bit. So not a lot, but 200 feet can make a difference. Like yours is 988 you're working on right now. Let's pretend you sold it for more than what you feel like the comps are. It wouldn't be a big deal for you to take that to like 1188. And 1188, I seen other comps at 1188 that made me more than comfortable. You'd be in the high 100s, 200s, right? So if you end up getting like 190, 180 after you turn into a 3.2, moving that number could really help, because as an appraiser, if you're 988 and 1188 is 200 square foot bigger, and all I'm seeing is 1188s that meet your number, then I'm going to take that 200 square foot and I'm going to times the per square foot price, and I'm going to reduce your house based on it being 200 square foot smaller. So that's why we, and the thing is, 988 versus 1188, do you think an appraiser, when it's that close, I look at your house, if you told me it was 1188, I'd be, okay, sounds right. Right, looks right. They're not going to get their tape measure out and measure every nook and cranny. And if they do, so what? But they're going to do that 1 in 100 times. They're busy right now. They're overwhelmed. So these are a couple things we're doing, since we are getting a lot over list price. When we nail everything and we get it right, we're making sure we're just optimizing our sales so we don't have any issues. So that is getting us to appraise quite often. And literally that advice is probably worth, like, once you're doing some rehabs, it could be easily worth anywhere from like 20 to 100K a year, depending on how much you're doing. For me, it's like a pretty big jump. I mean, I just had one sell for 50K over list, and we got to get 2 appraisals, and we got them both to work. And like, I don't even know where from, but it was crazy. I went and found the only 280 solds, and I was 1560. And the ones that sold for 280, I listed it for 230 and then sold it for 280. The ones that had sold at 280 were 1,950 square feet. So I took my 1,600, turned it to 1,950, and I had like 6 bedrooms. So I was like, it sounds like a 1950 anyhow. And no one said a word, and they used those comps, and we were all good. Now, I don't list my property because then I think that's fraudulent, but this was just to give, all I'm really doing, I'm not trying to defraud anyone. I was just giving the appraiser the ammunition he needs to do his job. And most of them are highly appreciative of it, because they don't have time to be arguing with you over a comp, right? They're like booked crazy, taking 2 weeks to get to a house. So they're like, oh, cool, thanks. So you're basically just, positioning your house to fit to the comps essentially. And we do a lot of that work ahead of time, but then if we sell for way too much more than we ever expected, well, then we have to kind of pivot a little bit on our feet.
Mm-hmm. So that, where do you put that updated square footage? Is it on MLS or is it?
I don't know this is true for your MLS, but yes, on the MLS, you usually, all of your square footage on the MLS is usually estimated. So you can, it'll come on off the tax writer as 988, and you usually can just change it in case it's wrong. So they'll let you change it. And because it's estimated, you're not technically doing anything wrong. You'd be like, I feel like it's 988. But yours, by the way, there's some argument to be made that yours is 988 above grade. But if you were to do that bedroom and that was another 200 square feet,
additional.
It's under the ground, but it is not in the front. So if you were to just take that square footage, even though it technically is below grade, I think you could make a good point if anyone ever called you out on it, that I thought that was okay because that was like finished square footage and it was a walkout, so it's above grade, and we added it. So I wanted to add that square footage, and I don't think anyone could ever say anything to. So basically, there's always an opportunity to like kind of back yourself up if someone ever said anything. I've never had anybody say anything, though, to be honest, so I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Cool.
They'd be like, "Oh, my bad," whatever. But again, that's if it ever happens. I wouldn't worry too much because it doesn't happen much. Sorry. So do you know, 1 second, she has some questions about the contract.
So I have $156,100, you said? And did you want to do $1,000 EMD or more?
More.
What did you want to do for the EMD?
3,000, I guess. Bigger the better. Do 5,000.
5,000 EMD?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's pump it up.
That's going to go to Clearview.
Yep.
And settlement and 3 days, 30-day settlement.
Yep. 30 is good.
30, and then we have the land, all that stuff. I look the same. We have the MP Green, 3 LLC. I have her name and her address.
Yeah. And then go into that one spot where it says condition. So it says condition of property right here. It says, what is that right at the end? It says the risk of damage, lost by the property. Oh, it says the property is improvement. There it says, oh, seller warranties. There is no undisclosed structural or major defects. And if so, it can be like, we can get out of it. Get rid of that one sentence.
Where?
Right? Like it's a condition of property. It's like the second sentence down, seller warranties. Right there. That sentence, you can get rid of it.
Seller warrants that there are no undisclosed structural or environmental defects or violations. You want me to get rid of all of this?
Yeah.
I can't.
Oh, okay. So,
Really get rid of that.
oh, then don't worry about it. Just leave it on there. If they say something, don't
You
worry
don't
about it.
know my finger. Do you want me to just put as is at the end?
Yeah, as is, make it big. So what I was telling her to get rid of, in the contract, I have a lot of outs. And if I get like a discerning buyer who I know is going to be like really looking over everything, I'll generally clean my contracts up, especially for a deal where I'm like buying it for 156, putting 120 in, and, talking having 130K spread, that would be like a 70, 80K profit. I kind of don't want to give any reason for them to be like, hey, I'm not comfortable with X. So I have a couple outs built into the contract I provide you. And when you know what those outs are, some people are like, whatever. But in this particular situation, she's been very analytical. So I'm going to just be safe about it and go ahead and take those out.
So,
We're good, man. You're fine.
so just put as is condition, anything else?
No, as is condition.
And,
Seller will make no repairs. That's all. I'll just say something like that, as is. So we're just making it sound better. One of the big things about the contract too, and this is for anyone who's signing a normal contract, if you run into this, is our contracts are like one page. They're simple. But on the contract, I try to keep everything in English, because if it gets too fancy sounding and the next response to that is like, hey, I need to get my attorney to look at it. You never want them to have their attorney look at your contract. And it's not because their attorney is actually going to make any changes that matter, because the attorney basically can do whatever they want. The problem is when the attorney looks at it, it's usually a real estate attorney, and they generally know other people that do this or do it themselves, and they will take and literally steal your deal from you. I've had it happen to me multiple times, like quite often. Even had a time where the attorney stole my deal from me and then wholesaled it to me for 10 more K. And I was like, I'm cool with it, but I'm butthurt a little, but I'm still cool because I got the deal. And I was like, that's some real crazy stuff that you just did. But It was me being aggressive though, because once he stole it, I actually called him and said, "Hey man, we put a contract in and I know the seller decided to sell it to you. Would you consider taking $10,000 and, just as an assignment fee?" He's like, no. Like, "Hey, why don't you think it over a little bit, man? You could just sell it to me and be clean and easy," and he called me back 2 days later and said, "Yeah, man, if you can do that, we'll go for it." And I was like, okay. But it was weird because they will steal your stuff because they either they'll steal it because they might have a client they can give it to and it makes them look good or they want it. And so we don't want their contracts, if they're not real simple and to the point, then people get confused by them. They will say, "Let me take it to an attorney more often." And we really want this going to attorneys less often. It's just that simple because the attorneys represent an opportunity for someone to block us out. Well, we don't want to be blocked out by someone. Somebody just like, "Yeah, let me give you $2,000 more. I'll take it." I mean, of course, they're going to go with their attorney, right? Of course, they're going to sell it to their attorney. Of course, I would not want to sell it to my attorney if he did that. What other questions can I help you guys with? We got 6:30. The other guys are coming on. You're welcome to stay on. We're going to be talking a little bit about some different stuff, asking some contractor questions and stuff, so you guys can hang out as long as you want. Anything I can help you with before they get on, or just anything in general?
How do you source your materials, Mike? Do you buy them and then supply them to your contractors, or do you have them do that and then you just check their pricing?
I always buy them, but I might have the contractor pick them up, and I like to pay for them, so I like to buy myself stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, I always buy them personally because I feel like with the contractors, so part of me getting the best price from my contractors is them not having to put the money up for the materials. So I know like if Fortune Builders are like hire GC and do all that, well, good luck if you want to get a good deal with that. So, we always, if we buy the materials, even if they'll go pick them up and I'll just answer a phone call and pay for them. It's that simple. And I might say, "Hey, what's he getting?" And they'll run it down. I'm like, "Okay, that sounds right." So they're usually getting what I tell them. Sometimes I'll order stuff for them. If it's like tile or wood or something, I'll order it and then they'll pick it up or I'll have it delivered. Through Home Depot and our pro account, we do have like a deal where we get like free delivery and, we get a lot of discounts from them. So that's something if you're not working with like a Home Depot pro account, you probably want to get in on that because it's pretty good, right? You want that. And I'm trying to work out a deal right now nationwide where we can get the similar kind of deal we're getting. Because they're doing it because of the volume. Sorry.
It says purchaser and seller will split equally all.
Change it. Just
costs.
change it that the buyer will pay all transfer costs. Transfer and closing costs. Okay. Thank you. That would have been something I promised her.
Okay,
So,
all transfer costs.
Yeah, all closing and transfer. So yeah, we do it that way, but not everything's cheapest from Home Depot, right? Sometimes you go to Lowe's, sometimes you go to Home Depot, local suppliers. So if it's for something big, we're always trying to shop it because, man, it can make a huge difference when you're buying stuff. Right now, we were doing some really nice cabinets we were getting from Guy, and I told you they were costing us like $300 to $3,500. And then we just found these Home Depot quick ships, and we did them on 3 flips, and they look awesome. And they're running us like $1,400 to $1,800 a house, which is insanely cheap. Now,
yeah, you almost made me cry after you said that today.
Well, they're perfect for your house because yours are going to be like high 100s, but maybe not Ray's house, right? Maybe Ray needs a little better cabinet because he's selling like a $300,000+ house. Right. So, but if you're predominantly going to be like high 100s, low 200s, then yeah, for sure, you likely can get away with that.
And they take care of any outstanding liens and encumbrances or judgments.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna just go ahead and do this.
Sign my name.
I gotta send it to Dr.
Okay. And then send it to her. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Anything else? Because
You're gonna send me the proof of funds.
I already sent it to you. Check and save. I sent it to you earlier. You don't have it, let me know. So that's because we can save a lot of money, Paul, like if we shop around. And honestly, the Home Depot, what I don't do a lot of when I get busy is shop around. I just stay buying the same stuff. And I'll tell you, man, stuff changes all the time. It's very competitive out there. It really, really is. And then Home Depot, like with their towel, just giving an example on their towel. Me and Tanya go there every week, and probably every week there's like some new towel that's super cheap on discount. Getting it for $1 a foot, but it's like $2 a foot towel and looks really nice. And how we put it together, how we make it look. We're really big in like taking the towel and really jazzing up what we would consider to be the master suite and making it very custom looking. And we can do that with a lot more thought than money. Right. And thought's actually free. It takes a little time, a little effort, but we love taking a lot of energy and time to make our our flips really nice. And if you're doing one at a time, it's one of your biggest advantages that you could have, right? You can, Fortune Builders teaches you to kind of follow their pattern, just do the same thing over and over. That does totally work. But once you've done a couple flips, the next level is saying, okay, what can I do to not have my house look like a Fortune Builder's house, like most of the other flippers around here? And Ray and Hannah are doing like a lot of not wainscoting, like shiplap and stuff, and accent walls. We're doing a lot of accent walls with a lot of different trims, and we're not doing this to the whole house. So we're not like spending $1 million more. We'll pick strategically 1 or 2 walls in the house that will paint a different color, maybe put a cool trim on, do something special. And the total cost of that's like $500. Ray was literally putting like s'mores out for people and just little things that are thoughtful, like, staging it really well and picking the right colors, making sure everything goes well together, having more layers of colors so that we're not like, gray and white and some, brown floors or gray floors even. Let's try to get some warm wood floors, gray walls, but then maybe do an accent wall or 2 that's going to still be very neutral. Using something like right now we're pretty big into is like black knobs on the white cabinets. It looks really nice, and we're picking those up at Amazon.com. Really big ones, like I think they're about that tall, about 5 inches. So they're ones that'd be like $4 or $5 at Home Depot. We're getting them $1 each on Amazon. You got to buy like 50 of them, but it's still cheaper.
Oh, wow.
Cheaper than buying 10 of them from Home Depot. And we're getting doorknobs, black doorknobs, flat black doorknobs, which look really cool and upgraded. And we're getting those for, you got to buy a 50 pack, but for 50 doorknobs, it's like $10 each. So pretty cheap. I remember it's cheap, $10, yeah, so it's really cheap. So it wasn't $500. So no, maybe it was like 25. I don't know. It wasn't much, but I know it was cheap. It was enough to do 2 houses, and I was like, good. And so we picked that up. They had like the 25, or you can get like 25 of them, which would be perfect. And then whatever leftover ones you have. We're taking the lights that go over top, the round lights, I think they call them the titty lights, and they're silver. We're taking those down, and when we buy them, we're spray painting them flat black so they look custom. And when we put the flat black light up, it looks like a light you can get from Lowe's or Home Depot, but it looks like a $40 light, but really it's the $10 light. So it looks way nicer because it's really like flat black's in right now, and it looks really good and it's kind of hot, but most flippers aren't using it because overall it runs the price up on your stuff. So through doing some shopping and sourcing, you can get stuff cheaper. You can make your house look a little nicer, and these things don't cost a penny more. Almost all these upgrades are basically the same price as the standard. Just go to Home Depot and pick up a brush nickel, right? But the brush nickel's normal. People are used to seeing it. We want to put something in our house they haven't seen before, but really like more HGTV, kind of like Chip and Joanna. We always think like Chip and Joanna, Flip or Flop, and mostly Chip and Joanna are actually really impactful to the design world. People really love to buy a house. We're even starting to think about designing our houses more like Chip and Joanna. It's called Farmhouse, Modern Farmhouse. And that modern farmhouse design is pretty insanely popular. And it's basically been ingrained into people's heads, right? As what is cool and what's nice, because, Chip and Joanna are doing it, and they're very popular. Yeah. #1 show on HGTV. Now we're not going crazy, but we're just adding the black, the white walls or gray walls and some white trim and doing those black knobs. You'll see that a lot in Chip. They'll always use black knobs. They rarely ever use nickel. So it looks really nice. There's a cool look to it. Very, but looks different than every other flipper who's kind of just dialing it in and saying, okay, just get the normal cheap this, get the normal cheap that. And now your house for the same price, because you're more thoughtful, could look like you overspent. We want other flippers walking into your house saying, he ain't making any money. He must have spent a ton on this. And then really you didn't though. You just were smarter about what you bought and you took more time. So that's one of your huge tactical advantages that you can have when you're only doing 1 to 2 houses at a time. That advantage disappears when you get to my level, actually, or it disappears unless you have Tanya, who I have a full-time person that helps me with it. So, that's one of the big things. So we can get that advantage back. So that's why doing less has been good, because we do less, we can get more tactical and more strategic. Our houses are really looking nice, and people are really responding in a big way when they buy them. So everyone's been doing that. I know Christina went above and beyond hers. Gloria's look beautiful. Everybody on the call who, did a house recently, Ray's does it all the time. And if you start adding that in, you're going to be surprised at how, instead of sitting on the market, maybe making 10 or 20K, we start flying off the market, negotiating multiple offers, getting people to go crazy over our deals. And it's a very cool spot, man. It's a very cool spot. The only thing you have to do is go relax and learn to stay humble when it starts working so well. Because it'll be something, you don't want to get too cocky about it, but we want we definitely want to, we want it working, and it helps us make money. So big stuff. Yeah. You didn't send it to me? Oh, I sent it to someone. I don't know who. So anybody have any questions I can help with? Let's see, email. I got a sense of. Let's see what we got on. I'll call some people out. Sorry, I know you're all good. Jim, can you hear me yet? Jim has been on for like an hour and a half. I don't know what Jim's doing.
Do you want me sending this to her through DocuSign to sign, or how do you want this, or am I just sending her?
Just send it to her to sign. You can send it through DocuSign. Just send it to her and then tell her if you need be. I can send it through DocuSign so you don't have to print it out. Just say, here's the contract. If you need me to, I can send it through DocuSign. Hey, what's up, everyone? Any questions? Glory, Brian, Steve, Marlo, anyone?
Sure.
That was the quickest call ever, guys. 5 minutes, we're out.
Hey, Mike, I got a quick question.
Oh, hold
Steve.
on, got someone. I thought I was getting off, man. I was gonna go like hang out and do something. Like early day.
I'm like, so Sin called, she tried to call Holly in Virginia. Are they still in business at Clearview or?
Yeah, for sure. They got a new location around the corner. Maybe that's the problem, but
Okay, maybe she's calling an old number or something. Okay.
I'll send you the cell phone number, and you obviously you can't call them tonight, but if you call tomorrow, it'll be good.
Okay, cool.
Are you trying to get something from them, or?
I think Sin was trying to find out the ground rent. I think is what they.
Got it. Okay, that would be a good person to call. Let me see. I'm gonna send you Holly's number, her cell phone number.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Mike.
That's how you follow them down. So yeah, let me get you that. Hey, just a little update on your house. We've had 2 showings so far, which is a little slow, but the last house we sold in the neighborhood, it was similar to that. We sold Roberts, and we ended up getting over list price on it, but it did take like a week and a half to get some offers really flowing in. We also listed it on Saturday, so it's not uncommon not to get a bunch of showings when you list late on Saturday. Because sometimes
that's what I was thinking. Maybe like one full weekend, and then we actually dropped like a little welcome mat over there, Mike, kind of just spruce it up and put some air freshener stuff in there. So yeah, just to add a little, a little touch to it. So
yeah, I didn't say anything, but the first person that showed it said we didn't even walk in because there wasn't a welcome mat, so we didn't feel welcomed, and the energy was very low in this house.
Oh, there's one now. So
I didn't want to tell you that. I was like, they were gonna be like, dude, what is wrong with your sellers? They're like, this is not that kind of time. They didn't even welcome some in. Say like, hey, you're welcome. Come on in. No, that should help. We've not gotten enough showings. One person said not interested, and the other hasn't said anything yet. I'm not sure if they've showed it. So, but we should, you're right, as the week goes on, as people get a chance to see it, and then we get into the weekend, it should be pretty helpful, hopefully. But it's not like on our other house, we listed it at the exact same time as you. We got a lot more offers, but it is, I mean, we got a lot more showings and we have offers in hand, and but it's a little lower priced house. So there's a little bigger buyer's pool for it. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for the update, Mike.
Okay, you're welcome, man. So we'll see what happens with it. It should be good. And then